it is one of those unique moments where, like, I do think that even a person who is an otherwise good individual in the helm of power, especially when they are sitting on the throne of empire, American empire, can do a metric ton of evil.
You little tater tot bitch. We are 2 minutes and 35 seconds into this video. I'm just gay as the rest of us, motherfucker.
Feels just the same. Another sunny day in LA. Everything is fine, so they say. Wonder what the news is.
Oh my God. There ain't no fucking dude. Wait, let's see. Oh my God. As of 4 minutes ago, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, former President Jimmy Carter died at the young age of 100. Dog, he was 100. Stop acting like you're Nostradamus. I'm not acting like I'm Nostradamus at all. However, I did say approximately 4 days ago that one of my predictions for 2024 was that Jimmy Carter would pass, and many chatters made fun of me. And I told them, look, there are still a couple days before the year ends. That's the only reason why I'm confused by this. Not because, you know, it is a Mickey Mouse prediction. That is actually wild. That is kind of wild. And the obits are coming out. And of course, this means we got to have the number one Carter hater, Felix Biederman, on the broadcast to talk about this. But like, this is kind of crazy. The tenacious Southerner was turned out of office by disillusioned voters after a single term, but he had a brilliant post-presidential career as a champion of health, peace, and democracy. That is crazy. This was on your list of predictions? Yes. But it's not surprising that this was on my list of predictions. What is surprising is that while this was on my list of predictions, it is a Mickey Mouse one. It is a gimme. It seemed like it was not going to happen. The other two on the list were Bill Clinton and Mitch McConnell. And not only did I thought I got it wrong. I thought he was gonna keep it going until 2025. And in the eve of the turn of this year, Bill Clinton went into the hospital, but it was a fever for a flu, and it wasn't that significant. You predict that a man in hospice was going to die and gave a year span to get it right? Okay, first of all, I'm not saying this is a crazy prediction. I think what makes it crazy is that what's crazy is that, like, it did not happen, and then 4 days ago or whatever, I said, like, there's still time in this year. Dude, that's a buzzer beater. Like, I'm sorry. That's what makes this unique. Like, nobody thought he was going to live forever. Okay, calm down. Now, of course, Jimmy Carter is a really interesting figure because he has done a lot of personal good. And a lot of Republicans hate him and historically have considered him like the worst president, seeing him as like a beacon of being a pussy pinko commie, right? What's interesting, however, is that Jimmy Carter, throughout his reign, as every American president, was responsible for a tremendous amount of death and destruction and violence all around the world. And maybe even domestically, he was the leading figure in the neoliberal changes that occurred within Democratic leadership, marking an attitude shift in the way that the modern Democratic Party that you absolutely despise, operated. So it is many people that are more knowledgeable than myself will talk about how he was the original neoliberal president. He's not even in his grave yet, so that he can turn in it at this criticism. Okay, first of all, how did he die? The plane crash? No, I think he died because he was at the end of his life, dude. He was at 1 HP for quite a long time. So tomorrow, I think I will probably do a deeper dive into Jimmy Carter to get you to understand the full scope of things. It is one of those unique moments where, like, I do think that even a person who is an otherwise good individual in the helm of power, especially when they are sitting on the throne of empire, American empire, can do a metric ton of evil. Because I do think Jimmy Carter is not a bad person. I think as far as like American presidents goes, like individually, I don't think he is as like openly evil. But given the role that he took on, he did a whole bunch of evil shit. He died because he couldn't handle Kamala's loss. He was supposed to get a cabinet position. Yeah. He was a war criminal like every single one of them after FDR. I mean, yeah. It's hard to disagree. Fuck him. No, as a person, as an individual, I think Jimmy Carter was a pretty good person. Like, he's not like fucking George W. Bush, like, where the humanizing component of George W. Bush is that he paints like he paints the dead Iraqi children that he's responsible for killing. Okay. You're absolutely wrong about this. Come on, dude. Anyway. Jimmy Carter was alive for both the rise and fall of Nazi Germany. Okay? He saw the moon landing. He was alive for the invention of the toast, like the sliced bread. He was alive for the invention of the state of Israel. And perhaps most importantly, Jimmy Carter was alive for Hawk Tuah. And I suspect he was also very taken aback by Haley Welch, also known as Hawk Tuah Girl, pulling a rug pull on many Americans, including Jimmy Carter. Perhaps this contributed to his untimely demise at the age of 100. The Hawk Tuah coin rug pull probably played a formative role in his untimely demise. How much money do I think Jimmy C had in Hawk Tuah coin? A lot. Far too much. From the invention of flight at Kitty Hawk to the collapse of Hawk Tuah, Jimmy Carter saw it all. Is it fucked up if I say Jimmy Carter saw the rise and fall of Adolf Hitler and perhaps more notably Hawk Tuah? I mean, it's a joke, but you know, we all know how the internet takes the joke. I did it. I posted it. If heaven is real, Jimmy's farming peanuts for Jesus. I don't know if any American president goes to heaven, chatter. If there is a heaven and hell, I don't think any American president is going to heaven. There is not enough atonement that you can engage in personally. I think that debt will be paid. And yes, not even Carter, who did engage in a shit ton of good. Absolutely. In his individual life, Jimmy Carter was an exemplary individual. That much is 100% true. I will never sit here and act like that's not the case. That's why I'm saying he's one of the very unique. He is a unique president in the sense that out of all of like the modern age American presidents, he is the one notable figure that comes to mind that actively, in a very hands-on approach, did good things. Okay? He did. Having said that, however, Ashtam. I'm not from the USA. Can you explain what good things he did? Habitat for Humanity. He like actively built houses on his own. Did a shit ton. Set up global NGOs that still actively monitor to this day, like foreign policy initiatives from a much more sensible perspective, regardless of what he had done when he was in office. Hey man, He came here to little old Winnipeg, Manitoba to build houses. That man was all the fuck over putting up homes. A man should not be alive for Vladimir Lenin's death and Skibbity Toilet. Yeah, Jimmy Carter's last tweet. I'm all in on Hawk Tua coin. Hold on that thing. Why are you calling him a good guy? He committed genocide in East Timor. Chatter, I think you misunderstood what I was saying. I was saying that he was... I think it's important to note that he was a good person individually and still is, you know, I mentioned over and over again that he's probably looking up at us if there is a fucking heaven and hell, okay? You understand? Like, worst fucking timing. Some chatters need transcripts to reference because their ears do not work. Yeah. I think it's also really interesting because, like, you can be the best person possible in your individual affairs and yet still do a metric ton of objectively evil things in, you know, when you are sitting on the throne. Hasan, your chat is so racist. Okay. Jimmy Carter, a no-frills and steel-willed Southern governor who was elected president in 1976, was rejected by disillusioned voters after a single term and went on to extraordinary post-presidential life that included winning the Nobel Peace Prize, died Sunday at his home in Plains, Georgia, according to his son, James E. Carter, known as Chip. He was 100 and the oldest living U.S. president at the time, of all time. His son confirmed the death, but did not provide an immediate cause. I mean, we can make up our minds on this. I think you just kind of die at that point. As you know, he was literally living on 1 HP for quite some time. Okay? In February 2023, in a statement, the Carter Center said the former president, after a series of hospital stays, will stop further medical treatment and spend his remaining time at home under hospice care. He had been treated in recent years for an aggressive form of melanoma skin cancer with tumors that spread to his liver and brain. His wife, Rosalind, died on November 19th, 2023 at 96. Okay? The Carters, who were close partners in public life, had been married for more than 77 years, the longest presidential marriage in U.S. history. His final public appearance was at her funeral in Plains, where he sat in the front row in a wheelchair. Mr. Carter, a small-town peanut farmer, U.S. Navy veteran, and Georgia governor from 1971 to 1975, was the first president from the Deep South since 1837 and the only Democrat elected president between Lyndon B. Johnson's and Bill Clinton's terms in the White House. As the nation's 39th president, he governed with strong Democratic majorities in Congress, but in a country that was growing more conservative. 4 years after taking office, Mr. Carter lost his bid for re-election in a landslide to one of the most conservative political figures in the era, Ronald Reagan. When Mr. Carter left Washington in January 1981, he was widely regarded as a mediocre president, if not an outright failure. The list of what had gone wrong during his presidency, not all of it his fault, was long. It was a time of economic distress with stagnant economy and stubbornly high unemployment and inflation. Stagflation, connoting both low growth and high inflation, was a description that critics used to attack Mr. Carter's economic policies. In the summer of 1979, Americans waited in long lines of service stations as gasoline supplies dwindled and prices soared after the revolution in Iran disrupted the global oil supply.
Carter.
So Noam Chomsky, this is a very famous Noam Chomsky bit where he just like in the shortest terms, he just like goes over some of the war crimes of every single president. For those of you who are confused about like what Carter has done, this is just foreign policy. We haven't even talked about like domestic policy and how some of the initiatives laid forth by the Carter administration basically supercharged or at least provided reasonable ground for the Reagan administration to come in and turn America into the shithole that you know and love. So
Carter increased as the Indonesian atrocities were increasing. They peaked in 1978. Carter's flow of weapons to Indonesia increased when Congress imposed human rights restrictions. By then there was a human rights movement in Congress to block the flow of advanced weaponry to Indonesia. Carter arranged through Mondale, vice president, to get Israel to send U.S. Skyhawks to Indonesia to enable Indonesia to complete what turned out to be near genocide, killing maybe a quarter of the population or something. In the Middle East, Carter just won the Nobel Prize. His great achievement was the Camp David agreements.
Yeah.
The Camp David agreements are presented as a diplomatic triumph for the United States. In fact, they were a diplomatic catastrophe. At Camp David, the United States and Israel accepted, finally, Egypt's 1971 offer, which they had then, U.S. had rejected at the time, except that now it was...
Can you explain Ronald Reagan administration like I'm 5? Sure. Everything that you despise about, like, as a consumer, everything that you despise about, like, I don't know, shittier and shittier versions of the same products that you get, all the way from that to broad sweeping anti-labor initiatives that were implemented and continue to this day can be traced back to Ronald Reagan, Reaganomics, trickle-down economics. Virtually everything that sucks in the United States of America. I'm not in favor of like a single person being responsible for all of the evil. Obviously, that is anti-materialist thinking. Having said that, however, in the most reductive terms, if you hate something that's happening and you're like, why does the government have no solution to this? It seems like other competent administrations actually have a solution to this. Why is there so much income inequality? Why is there so much death and destruction? You can trace all of that back to Ronald Reagan. He is the guy. And he is so bad that you can even point to Carter opening up the opportunity for this evil spawn of Satan to take control over, by incredible margins, the American government and virtually destroy everything about American life.
Worse from the U.S.-Israeli point of view because it included the Palestinians. In order to get Israel to accept Egypt's 1971 offer after a major war and atrocities and so on, Carter raised military and other aid to Israel to more than 50% of total aid worldwide. Israel used it at once in exactly the way they said.
It is okay not to blame Dems every 5 seconds. What are you talking about? I mean, I'm literally talking about how everything bad in American modernity is Ronald Reagan's responsibility. But if you're talking about like anti-union initiatives and the proto-neoliberal attitudes demonstrated by American governments, yes, Carter played a role in this. That is correct.
Said they were going to do, as every sane person knew, as an opportunity to attack their northern neighbor, first in 1978, then in 1982, and to increase integration of the occupied territories. And that's for starters. We can continue.
Reagan?
I don't think we have to talk about that one either. I mean, Reagan is the first president to have been condemned by the International Court of Justice for what they called the unlawful use of force, meaning international terrorism, in the war against Nicaragua. Again, that's just for starters. They also, the Security Council endorsed it in 2 resolutions, both of which were vetoed by the United States.
Bush won.
Well,
I don't agree that all presidents are in hell. What about the guy who did the checker speech? He seems pretty wholesome. What? So Jimmy Carter, regardless on the initial opinions on Israel Palestine or what he did. Once again, I must repeat my original position that like post presidency, he had a lot of prescient takes on Israel.
Apartheid is
This is one of them.
is exactly accurate. You know,
Here he is on Democracy Now! In 2007, talking about the utilization of the term apartheid when describing Israel.
the word apartheid is exactly accurate. You know, this is an area that's occupied by two powers. They're now completely separated. The Palestinians can't even ride on the same roads that the Israelis have created or built in Palestinian territory. The Israelis never see a Palestinian except the Israeli soldiers. The Palestinians never see an Israeli except at a distance, except the Israeli soldiers. So within Palestinian territory, they're absolutely and totally separated, much worse than they were in South Africa, by the way. And the other thing is, the other definition of apartheid is one side dominates the other, and the Israelis completely dominate the life of the Palestinian people.
Why don't Americans know what you have seen?
Americans don't want to know, and many Israelis don't want to know what is going on inside Palestine. It's a terrible human rights persecution.
I know that this is a joke, but there's nothing funnier than looking at a guy like Jimmy Carter who was 100 fucking years old and was basically dying in hospice care for the past year. And thinking, oh, I wonder if there's like, it seems kind of weird. Was he vaccinated? Seems kind of weird. Maybe Mossad killed him. It's like there's perhaps not a better example of looking at a very open and shut case, looking at a story that does not require any sort of magical thinking whatsoever, and still trying to hammer in a mystical, magical narrative, a grand conspiracy. It is fucking fantastic.
That is far transcends what any outsider would imagine.
Jimmy Carter's conditions were, so dire that I feel like if someone killed him, you would consider it like, active voluntary euthanasia at this point. It's just like no one would be like, we got to litigate this.
And there are powerful political forces in America that prevents any objective analysis of the problem in the Holy Land. I think it's accurate to say that not a single member of Congress with whom I'm familiar and call for Israel to withdraw to their legal boundaries or to publicize the plight of the Palestinians, or even to call publicly and repeatedly for good faith peace talks. There hadn't been a day of peace talks now in more than 7 years. So this is a taboo subject, and I would say that if any member of Congress did speak out, as I've just described, they would probably not be back into Congress the next term.
Oh my God, that's so loud. Holy fuck. Does Mossad know where RFK Jr. lives? Brother, RFK Jr. is unimaginably pro-Israel. It wasn't just him. Even his Secretary of State, who was Mika Brzezinski's father, is known for being outspoken on Palestine. Yes. But this isn't even like him being outspoken in a pro-Palestinian way. He's just like literally relitigating the falsehoods that Joe Scarborough was presenting. Okay? The falsehoods that Joe Scarborough is presenting here are the inaccuracies are just, you know, he's just fact checking him in real time. Ironically enough, he would then later become Joe Scarborough's father-in-law. But, you know, this is Free Taiwan testing something. Okay. Now, Zbigniew Brzezinski is one of the leading figures in the Vietnamization of Afghanistan. Just saying. So if you want to tie that back to like 9/11, for example, you want to tie Carter back to 9/11, there's opportunity for you to do so. As well, something that I've talked about quite a bit. A lot of people will point to Ronald Reagan, but it goes back. It's actually, you have to, you know, dive a little bit further. Why all you care about is 9/11 and working out? Yeah, here is Jimmy Carter's #1 hater in the United States of America, Felix Biederman, who has apparently heard of the news. Iconic Jimmy Carter moments: Uberizing international warfare, abandoning New Deal policies in favor of a deregulatory race to the bottom, inviting Lash to the White House and pleading, "Please tell me what to do," and Lash going, "I don't know, just give up." Why you wear so many necklaces? What? Mr. Carter made energy his signature domestic policy initiative, and he had some success, but events outside of his control intervened. In March 1979, a unit of the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, suffered a core meltdown. The accident was the worst event for U.S. nuclear energy industry and a severe setback of hopes that nuclear power would provide a safe alternative to oil and other fossil fuels. Mr. Carter's fortunes were no better overseas. In November 1979, an Iranian mob seized control of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, taking 52 Americans as hostages. It was the beginning of a 444-day ordeal that played out on daily on television and did not end until January 20th, 1981, the day Mr. Carter left office, when the hostages were released. Now, what's really interesting about that process is that, you know, that was another... Remember when I talked about fucking Donald Trump cutting a side deal with Benjamin Netanyahu? Yeah. No, it's just sauces, Mom. All right, let's see what fucking CNN is saying.
Still getting these drips and drops from Jimmy Carter's family or those around him about how he was doing. We knew that he wanted to make it through the election. We had gotten that reporting, but we had still been sort of hearing from those around him in the last year or so, even though he was in hospice care.
Yeah, and I was always checking in to see how he was doing with his friends and his family, and I would get updates, and I was always pretty much encouraged, even though he was in hospice for the past year, he was still enjoying and watching sports, and I was enjoying and watching sports, but he was a big Atlanta Braves fan, baseball fan, was watching games with his kids and his grandkids and his family and friends. So I would always get relatively upbeat assessments on how he was doing over the past year. But everybody knew under hospice, it was only a matter of time. And 100 years old, you know, that's a
damn
very,
Wolf,
very
chill.
long life that he led. So we all anticipated it was only a matter of time, and now it has happened. And I think I speak for so many of our viewers in the United States and around the world when I say I want to express our deepest condolences to his loving family. May he rest in peace, and as we say, may his memory be a blessing.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, his family, I think it was his grandson, Wolf, that we saw at the DNC over the summer, as you point out, as we sort of had gotten these, you know, these stories from those around him. Wolf, we appreciate you being here. Stand by for a moment if you can. I want to now bring into the conversation President Carter biographer Kai Bird. Kai, do I have you?
Yes.
Yeah, just top line reaction. You know, as Wolf was just saying, you know, the former president was in hospice care. He had recently celebrated his 100th birthday. It is still nonetheless really shocking news.
Well, it is a long life, over 100 years.
Yeah, I don't really care. Like, I don't feel bad when a 100-year-old dies. Like, I don't know. I mean, they did it. They maxed out. I would
argue, as the biographer who spent 6 years working on his life,
I don't know if I'm weird about this at all, but it's like, dude, if you live to 100 and you died around your fucking loved ones, it's like, what? You did it. You won. Like, what are we fucking doing here, you know? You made it. You maxed out. That's the fucking hard cap. That is the hard level cap on life, okay? There is a finite amount of time that you could be alive. You make it past like 80, you're great. You're chilling, okay? Big time. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know. Maybe I sometimes come across as like indifferent when I'm covering stuff like this, but it's like, I don't know. Maybe it's weird for me to not feel some type of way about this. Maybe I'm supposed to feel bad, but I can't. You know, he lived a long ass life. He got to do a whole bunch of shit. A lot of bad as well, considering that he was, you know, once again, the president of the United States of America. It just comes with the job, comes with the territory. Anti-union initiatives, you know, creating the groundwork for Ronald Reagan and neoliberalism, but from the Democratic Party side in terms of domestic affairs. But then also when it comes to foreign policy, continuing American death and destruction, continuing American empire. What good did he do? I mean, he built houses and shit. Like, he's like a nice person overall, and has been a longtime advocate for Palestinian emancipation. There's a lot of stuff that he's done post-presidency. I wrote a book about
it. Your 21st book, Palestine, Peace, Not Apartheid. Let me read from page 215 of your book. A system of apartheid with two peoples occupying the same land but completely separated from each other.
Like, his org, the Carter Foundation, is like one of the few shockingly, I would say, reasonable American foreign policy institutes out there. Having said that, of course, he, once again, controlled the reins of American empire. So he still did a lot of, you know, metric ton of evil too.
Other, with Israelis totally dominant and suppressing violence by depriving Palestinians of their basic human rights. This is the policy now being followed. And last Sunday, you told the Louisville Journal, I would say that in many ways the treatment of the Palestinians by the Israeli occupying forces is as onerous, and in some cases more onerous, as the treatment of black people in South Africa by the apartheid government. Those are very strong words.
They're exactly accurate. And I think I should point out quickly that the book refers to Palestine and not to Israel. And I also make clear in the book that the apartheid that is perpetrated now on the Palestinians in the occupied territories is not based on racism. It's based on the desire by a minority of Israelis for Palestinian land. And in the acquisition of that land, the occupation, the confiscation, and then the colonization of that land, they are perpetuating an absolute and total division.
Another woke college
between
kid.
Israelis living on Palestinian territory.
These young
and the
woke
right
college
of
students,
to
dude.
interrelate with any Israelis who are occupying their own land. So that word is accurate for what the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians on Palestinian territory. The Arabs that live in the occupied territories, which is not Israel's territory, but their own, are horribly abused. And I don't think anyone could go to the West Bank and Gaza or even to East Jerusalem and see what's happening now to the Palestinians that would disagree with my use of the word apartheid.
As I read your book, this struck me, particularly from someone in political life. You wrote the following: There are constant and vehement political and media debates in Israel concerning its policies in the West Bank, but because of powerful political, economic, and religious forces in the United States, Israeli government decisions are rarely questioned or condemned. Voices from Jerusalem dominate in our media, and most American citizens are unaware of circumstances in the occupied territories. And then you went on to say, there's no doubt there is a strong aversion to criticizing Israel in this country. I wouldn't say it's all because of intimidation, but that is one factor.
Yes. Do you disagree with that? Well, I won't ask you that. You're the one asking questions. But I don't think anyone could disagree with that. There are very few, if any, voices in the political realm of Washington.
Do you understand why I'm saying it's complicated and I'm not like immediately running the classic, like, he's a ginormous piece of shit line? This is part of the reason.
Or in the major news media, who would raise the kind of issues that are raised in this book.
Why?
I have said in the book, I don't know if it's intimidation or just reticence. There are some factors that are involved even in the religious circles, but it's almost completely unacceptable in this country for any public official to criticize the policies of Israel, even if they are horribly abusive against the Palestinians and violate human rights.
This is in effect taking on the, quote, Israeli lobby or the Jewish lobby.
That's the Jewish lobby may be part of it. I didn't say that in the book, but I think that's part of it. But even, I don't think that the Washington Post or the New York Times or NBC or others are intimidated by the Jewish lobby. But I think there's a reticence, even in public fora, to describe both sides of the issues in the West Bank.
What the fuck? I fap 4 times a day?
To act as the indispensable mediator.
Almost never in our history has a president devoted so much time on a single problem.
He had studied
to the 46th president of the United States,
of the two leaders who deeply mistrusted each other. He wrote Sadat and Begin personal letters inviting them to Camp David. And when they arrived on American soil, it was high stakes for all 3 men involved.
Failure here would just increase the impression that Mr. Carter is a nice man, but an inept president.
This meeting is truly historic, and the people who will participate know it.
13 days of intense negotiations, crucially behind closed doors. No leaks, no social media, no media at all.
The Israeli delegation is totally zipped up. Even less is coming out of it than is coming out of the Egyptian delegation.
At Camp David, Carter and his team shuttle back and forth between the 2 men and their teams, often negotiating late into the night. Carter's national security advisor, the late Zbigniew Brzezinski, described what looked like mission impossible.
Sadat, to sign a peace treaty with Begin, had to break ranks with the entire Arab world. He had to face isolation. Begin, to agree with Sadat, had to give up territory for the first time and to give up settlements.
When direct talks between Sadat and Begin became too heated, Carter kept them apart and quashed any attempt to call off the negotiations. After 2 weeks of complications, drama, and false starts, the men finally returned to Washington to deliver the good news. They had reached a deal.
Just look at 2 weeks ago what the situation was. Peace process all but dead.
An achievement none thought possible.
It appears that the president won, and he won big.
Decades after Camp David, I sat down with President Carter and asked him how in the world he had done it.
There you were, you brought peace with Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat. It all seemed so much easier then, was it? Or is that just what we think now, all these years later?
I think it was much more difficult, because I was negotiating between 2 men whose nations had been at war 4 times in just 25 years.
The magnitude of that accomplishment lives on in the image of that 3-way handshake. The Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin summed it up like this.
The Camp David Conference should be renamed. It was the Jimmy Carter Conference.
The final result? Israel would return the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt, a piece of land the two had fought wars over. Egypt would finally recognize Israel's right to exist and give Israel access to the crucial Suez Canal shipping lanes.
Was a constant.
Both leaders declared no more fighting. All three men would eventually be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. But one thing wouldn't change. Arabs called Sadat a traitor. 3 years later, he was assassinated by Muslim extremists in his own country. Still, many years later, President Carter told me that he was proud of this first peace deal between Arabs and Israelis.
The peace treaty that was negotiated between Israel and Egypt over extremely difficult circumstances was beneficial to both sides, and not a single word of the treaty has been violated. It was much more difficult than the altercation between the Israelis and the Palestinians is today.
And that conflict, the one between Palestinians and Israelis, still rages on to this day. But it doesn't alter the fact that there was a shining moment when Jimmy Carter engaged the full and indispensable role of the United States and changed one corner of the Middle East forever. Christiana Manpour, CNN, London.
All right, let's now bring in CNN Chief National Affairs Correspondent Jeff Zeleny. Jeff, good to have you. I want to follow up on something that we heard a short time ago from President Carter's biographer, Kai Bird. He said, in a lot of ways, President Carter was ahead of his times in many ways, particularly in foreign affairs.
Rahel, there is no question that he was ahead of his time in so many ways as an environmentalist, as a conservationist, and as we are really getting the reaction.
I don't think it works like that.
Democrats and Republicans, American leaders. I'm looking at one now from former President Bill Clinton and Secretary Hillary Clinton. They talk about how they met him in 1975. They're praising his really post-presidency work. Also getting reaction from Republican Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, praising his post-presidency work. The through line to this here is that Jimmy Carter believed that a president's afterlife, a post-presidency, should not be a time to make profit, but actually a time to do good. And that, of course, is something that is really the last of his kind in that respect. He was not known to give big speeches leaving office, but let's talk about him being in office for a moment. You're right. He was ahead of his time. There's no question his protecting the lands of Alaska, his work on the Panama Canal, and even putting solar panels on the White House. And I was just actually watching a documentary over the weekend called Carterland, which is such a good encapsulation of his time in office. And he was talking about in the year 2000, of course, that seemed like a long time away in the 70s, but talking about the solar panels on the White House. Of course, Ronald Reagan had them removed when he came into office. But when you look at his classic American story, he definitely was elected at 52 years old, but ahead of his time in so many ways.
Yeah, I just want to read a comment that we're getting in from the former president's son, Jeff. I'll read it out for you. It says, "My father was a hero, not only to me, but to everyone who believes in peace, human rights, and unselfish love." This is coming from Chip Carter. He continued and said, "My brothers, sister, and I shared with him, with the rest of the world, through these common beliefs. The world is our family because of the way he brought people together, and we thank you for honoring his memory by continuing to live these shared beliefs." You know, Jeff, in a lot of ways, he was sort of in a class of his own. I mean, he was the oldest living former president. You know, he lived to 100. He, you know, as we just said, he was a president sort of ahead of his time. But talk to us a little bit about sort of how he, even just in terms of how he sort of had this second career after leaving office that in and of itself was remarkable.
Well, it absolutely was. I mean, he you know, was elected as a fresh face of the South in the wake of Watergate and in the anger from Vietnam. If we think of every presidential election as a series of, you know, a a linked chain of events. His was a reaction to the Nixon administration and the Ford presidency and the anger in the country over President Ford pardoning Richard Nixon. So he was the agent of change at that point. But of course, the economy and so many other things got in the way. And his advisors at the time said, "You're doing too much."
Yes, this was in my predictions for 2024.
Perhaps some of this for the second term. Of course, there was no second term. Ronald Reagan handily defeated him. But I think going back to Jimmy Carter, he had if you look through these documentaries and if you walk through the Carter Center in Atlanta, as I have several times, the pictures in the Oval Office as the buck stops here, of course, that's the Harry Truman line, but also it's something that he took to heart. And as we are looking here at statements still coming in, an interesting line here from Senator Mitch McConnell. He said, "President Carter served during times of tension and uncertainty, both at home and abroad, but his calm spirit and deep faith seemed unshakable." And faith, I think, Rahel, is something that is central to Jimmy Carter's life. Of course, we remember seeing him at the funeral of his wife of 77 years, Rosalind, just a little over a year ago. And now he has taken his lead, reunited with her. So an American love story, an American original in so many ways, will be celebrated over the next several days as his funeral plans begin to take shape.
Yeah, you know, Jeff, that's a really important point. It's something that we hadn't touched on yet, but just his faith and sort of how crucial that was and the way that he lived his life. Jeff, thank you. I want to now bring in for a moment Kai Bird, who was with us now. Kai, I mean, you have had the privilege of working with Jimmy Carter quite closely. Give us a sense, if you might, of some personal anecdotes or any stories that really stood out to you.
Well, you were speaking about Camp David and his intervention to achieve a peace treaty in the Middle East. You know, he took on this issue with no background in it. He
was just that good.
His advisors all told him not to do it, that it was dangerous territory. And yet Carter, you know, was a very well-read man, and he thought he was the most intelligent guy in the room, and he could educate himself on this issue. And he just decided, this is something that is really important to do, and I'm going to use my powers of the presidency to make something happen where no one else has been able to go to that territory. And over the objections of Zbigniew Brzezinski, his national security advisor, he organized this Camp David retreat and invited Anwar Sadat and Menachem Begin. And over 13 days, it was an incredible drama of personal diplomacy in which he forced them to stay there. They both tried to leave on at least 2 occasions. And he managed to keep them there for 13 days and iron out an agreement. And at a sort of critical tipping point, just as Menachem Begin was about to storm out once again, Carter came over to Menachem Begin's cabin in Camp David and brought with him photographs of himself and Begin and Sadat, and he had signed to his grandchildren, to Begin's grandchildren, and he had gotten their names, and he handed these little gifts. And this caused the very stern and staid Begin to break down and start weeping because Carter had inscribed them, you know, for peace for our grandchildren. And this was sort of brought home to Begin that he was missing an opportunity. And at that point, he said, okay, I'll go back. I'll negotiate one more round with you. And out of that came the Camp David Accords, which are still in effect. They brought peace between Egypt and Israel. And yet there was a missed opportunity because Carter always believed that he also got the outlines for a peace between Israel and the Palestinians as well. And that, of course, is a very controversial argument that historians are still trying to figure out all these decades later.
Yeah. Kai, I want to ask you to weigh in on something my colleague Jeff Zeleny had just mentioned there toward the end of our conversation, but the importance of Jimmy Carter's faith and the way in which he pursued his work and the way in which he pursued the issues and the causes that were important to him.
Yes, faith mattered a great deal to him. He was a Southern Baptist. He thought of Israel and Palestine as the Holy Land. And he just thought it was a tragedy that war was being fought in the Holy Land. And he believed that he had studied the issue enough to understand what a compromise might look like.
Nope.
2 states for 2 peoples, and territorial compromises, and sharing of Jerusalem. And all of that was sort of set in
Am I crazy?
Of the Camp David Accords.
I thought he famously didn't know shit. Like, he didn't know anything, with the exception of, like, maybe some biblical text. And also, Camp David Accords unironically solidified Israel's position of dominance over the Palestinians.
You know, we're seeing, it's ironic, but, you know, Jimmy Carter was dealing with Israel, Palestine, Iran, revolutionary Iran, the same issues we're dealing with today. But if he had gotten an agreement from Begin in 1978 to freeze the settlements in the West Bank, no more building of settlements in the West Bank for 5 years, that would have been a huge step. That would have led, inevitably, I would argue, to a 2-state solution. And here we are decades later, and Jimmy Carter always believed that this was his biggest failure in the presidency, that he didn't somehow get that pinned down.
Yeah, that's such an interesting point, Kai. I mean, what do you make of some of the parallels between his time in office and sort of present day 2024, whether we're talking about Iran, whether we're talking about the conflict in the Middle East? And you mentioned Paul Volcker earlier, the Federal Reserve Chair, who was, you know, in charge of fighting the highest inflation that we had seen in years, and we have seen since then. And so it is just sort of remarkable, the parallels between his time in office and 2024.
Yeah, this is why Carter's presidency, not just his ex-presidency, but his presidency is so relevant to us today, because he was grappling with these extremely difficult issues that he took on head on, including energy, race, religion, climate change, as we've discussed, peace in the Middle East, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
How long ago do you think they had this video ready to go? Years. People start writing obituaries so early on. Famously, Henry Kissinger had co-writers on his New York Times obituary. Some of the people who co-wrote Henry Kissinger's obituary died before Henry Kissinger died.
A solution in Israel-Palestine, or race, or the separation of religion and state, which is something that Carter, Southern Baptist, was very much committed to. So his presidency is oddly relevant in a way that I think most Americans don't understand or have forgotten.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point. Kai Bird, we so appreciate you being with us on this breaking news. Again, former President Jimmy Carter has died at the age of 100. And thank you for joining me today. We're going to continue to cover this breaking news. Omar Jimenez picks up now.
This is CNN Breaking News.
We begin this hour with breaking news. Former President Jimmy Carter has died at the age of 100. The Carter Center says the 39th president died this afternoon, surrounded by family in his hometown of Plains, Georgia. The former president had been in home hospice care since February of 2023, but Carter became the oldest living former president when he surpassed the record held by the late George H.W. Bush in March of 2019. Carter, a Georgia peanut farmer and a lifelong Democrat, served a single term as president from 1977 to 1981, losing a re-election bid to Ronald Reagan. Now, his presidency was defined by blows to America's economy and conflicts overseas, but his most enduring legacy came after his presidency, winning a Nobel Peace Prize and redefining himself as a human rights pioneer. Joining us now, CNN's Jake Tapper takes a look at how former President Carter spent his long life embracing faith and how it shaped his life and career.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear.
Jimmy Carter faced the American presidency the same way he faced nearly everything else in his life, with unflinching faith.
Oh my God! Taken the oath of office on the Bible my mother gave me just a few years ago.
And as Americans looked to President Carter to lead them, President Carter looked to God for guidance.
With God's help, and for the sake of our nation, it is time for us to join hands in America.
As a devout evangelical, the pride of Plains, Georgia, was active in his hometown church well into his 90s.
Well, thank you for coming this morning.
Both as a student of faith and as a teacher.
My father was a Sunday school teacher. He taught me when I was a child. I still teach Sunday school when I can.
A commitment to God and family were long-held hallmarks of the Carter home.
The scripture was part of his daily childhood life. Every night at supper, they would not only say the Lord's Prayer, but would read the gospel.
When Carter left home for the Naval Academy, his faith followed.
He would spend his weekends on leave doing Bible classes, tutoring people in scripture. He talks about Jesus Christ all the time.
But in 1966, the lifelong Christian came to question his beliefs, his faith shaken after losing the Georgia governor's race in the primary.
I really felt let down by God.
Carter's younger sister read him scripture from the book of James, reminding the future president
that a setback in life should be an institution that results in perseverance and patience and self-analysis and renewed spiritual commitment.
She made him into what evangelicals called a born-again Christian.
With renewed conviction, Carter went on to serve as Georgia's governor and later as America's commander-in-chief. The 39th president and his new vice president, Walter Mondale, had Christianity in common. They bonded over it.
I grew up in a minister's family, and he recognized what I was about. And I think that's one of the things that pulled us together.
It was also one of the qualities that helped Carter become the first president to welcome the Pope to the White House.
Let all of us here of every faith stand as one under God for peace and justice and for love.
The president's knowledge of world religion played a key role in his brokering of the Egypt-Israel peace treaty in 1979.
Yeah, using a religious framework to try to solve a colonialist conquest is fucking hilarious. Like there you go. Oh, there it happened already. It happened for Carter as well. The thing that I was talking about with respect to how sometimes you have people who outlive their obituary writers. What the fuck? Why can't I actually move this? Here it is. Jimmy Carter outlived one of his obituary writers. Peter Baker is the chief White House correspondent for the Times. Roy Reid, who died in 2017, was a Times national correspondent who for many years covered the South. Yeah, obituary writers sometimes like start writing the obituaries so long ago that like they fucking pass away before the subject dies.
Namesake Carter Center touched the lives of millions.
Well, the work at the Carter Center has been, I'd say, more personally gratifying to me.
Founded in 1982 as part of his presidential library, the Carter Center has worked to ensure the fairness of more than 100 elections in nearly 40 countries.
Low-key, one of the most like pro-Venezuelan institutions in America.
Guinea worm that had long burdened parts of Africa.
Guinea worm is probably one of the oldest diseases remembered by human beings. It's in the Bible. We think it's a fiery serpent.
For his work, Jimmy Carter earned the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002. In addition to his philanthropic work, Jimmy Carter was a prolific author. He published more than 25 books touching on his belief in God, country, and kindness. You only have to have two loves in your life, he wrote, for God and for the person in front of you at any particular time. The person with Carter most was his wife, Rosalind, who worshiped alongside him for more than 7 decades.
When I'm overseas, or when she is, we read the same passage in the Bible, and we kind of, communicate silently.
Even when cancer threatened to take Mr. Carter from his wife and from the life he loved, he kept his faith and looked again to God.
Now I feel, that it's in the hands of.
Interesting. There was a book that mentioned Israel-Palestine in there, but not the one that calls Israel an apartheid. I wonder why.
And I want to bring in CNN.
There was an Israel-Palestine book in there, Peace in the Holy Land or whatever. But there wasn't the one where he openly says Palestine not apartheid or peace not apartheid.
Jeff is on the phone, and Chip Carter, the former president's son, said, "My father was a hero not only to me but to everyone who believes in peace, human rights, and unselfish love." And I guess, Jeff, I bring that quote up because for President Carter, there's almost two major chapters in his legacy. Of course, his time in office.
I'm sorry, I'm a product of American presidents, American education system, but doesn't that seem bad? He doesn't seem that bad compared to other presidents? No, especially for like all of his work post-presidency, which is valid. Like, he's just like kind of a dunderhead, a really religious guy, actually a religious guy, not like fake religious in the way that, not fake religious in the way that Trump is, and certainly not insane religious in the way that like Mike Pence is, right? He is like the classic religious guy that's like, I want to abide by my faith and I want to do the things that, the Bible tells me to do. Good things for others, be kind to individuals, that kind of thing. And in spite of all of that, of course, he was still he was still tasked with doing horrifyingly monstrous things as the president of the United States. Also, a lot of people, they're in the Republican Party, historically have hated him and have hailed him as like pre-Obama. Everyone used to point to Carter as like the worst president. Okay.
He created the Department of Education. He appointed Ruth
They
Bader
hated Bill
Ginsburg
Clinton
to the
too.
federal bench and began the process of diversifying the courts. Up until he became president, only
What is this?
8
HasanAbi women
were on the federal bench.
What is it? Where is it? Oh, it's just showing different recommended articles. Let's see if I can find it. It's probably a meme. Let's see what the meme is. Search meme. What was it? HasanAbi women? Oh, this is it. They're my blast off memes, you dummies. I very quickly will write out, like when I post it in the memes folder, I very quickly just like type something out that I'm going to post on Twitter. Where's the Dua Lipa one? What is the poo folder? Oh, that's like tax documents and shit. You accidentally showed your short stack goblin porn? Yeah, I don't fucking watch porn on my work computer. And I also don't download porn. I feel like downloading porn is degenerate shit. Like, I feel like that's the first step towards becoming like an actual gooner porn addict. Like, I've never watched a porn where I was like, damn, I really need to save this. Like, I really need to I don't know if I'll ever be able to have access to this again. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a Philistine. But my porn consumption habits are pretty they're pretty like basic. You go Pornhub. Like back in the day, obviously I used to download a lot of porn because I was in Turkey. And porn was not as readily accessible and easy to come by. But now, it seems crazy. I actually don't know why. Like what the inflection point is for why so many Republicans hate Carter. Because like the hatred they have for him is far more severe. Like they hate Bill Clinton, they hate Obama, they hate Obama the most. We know what it is for Barack Obama. For Barack Obama, it's obviously being black first and foremost. But like for Jimmy Carter, I feel like they saw him as like a pinko commie libtard who loves apologizing to the rest of the world for America's war crimes or whatever, even though he wasn't. But I just don't know why they fucking hate him that much.
Essentially, from a president and, of course, high-profile work afterward as well. I mean, how difficult was it to lead the life that they live? And just what kind of example did they set, do you believe, for the country and world at large in just their relationship?
I think it could be like a similar dynamic to how liberals despise leftists, because from their perspective, like it makes them kind of look back at their own ideological shortcomings. Like that's why liberals hate liberal politicians hate like Bernie Sanders, for example, because they look to Bernie Sanders and they're like, you're a piece of shit because you are really pushing the needle. And for maybe like conservative religious freaks, they hate that he's like at least his output in his individual life was like of a deeply religious man who is not a bad guy. They're really just drafting off the anger that people felt against Carter. America literally ran out of gasoline. He couldn't fill your tank during his presidency. Imagine what the Treatlers would do. Yeah, Adolf Treatlers would do if that happened in the U.S. $10 a gallon gas, etc. The boomers were so angry. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. That's got to be like the most significant part of this, right?
Peace Accords at Camp David. It was actually her idea to do it there because she was close with Sadat and his wife. And one of those stories that I think Kai mentioned before that I just love is that, you know, the personal touch that they both had, and the fact that when things were looking bad during Camp David, it was Jimmy Carter who gave Begin this signed photograph and said, give it to your grandchildren. And that's what brought Begin back to the negotiating table.
Oh my God, I don't care about this. Iran plus Reagan being seen as the great Jesus. Nah, most older people hate him because during the Iranian hostage crisis, Republicans thought Carter should have bombed Iran. Was Jimmy Carter dying in your 2024 predictions? Yes, it was. But that's like not that interesting. What's actually interesting is that not only was it in my predictions, it wasn't in just my predictions, but I literally said a couple days ago. I said a couple days ago that that you know, there's still time for the year to end, when people were making fun of me for predicting that Jimmy Carter would die in 2024. That's what's interesting about it, I think, or at least somewhat interesting about it, is that like he did do a buzzer beater. Did you write his name in your notebook? Yeah, I have a death note and I wrote Jimmy Carter's name on it. That's fucking crazy. All right. Let's go back to this, and I'm going to give you some
I mean, his Sunday school
some
that
more
he was
critical
delivering
stuff.
at Maranatha Baptist Church, he did this more than 2,000 times well into his 90s. And anybody who got the chance to sit and listen to him speak, you look over at Rosalind and she just looked adoringly at him. So it was the pinnacle of his life, marrying her. And I think she felt the same. You know, when he lost in a landslide to Ronald Reagan, she was devastated and she never quite got over it. She thought the country made a huge mistake by not re-electing her husband. So this was a partnership that continued well after the White House.
Yeah, and I want to bring Ron Brownstein back into the conversation.
One of my predictions from one of my last remaining predictions from 2024 that came
former
true.
President Jimmy Carter's legacy here. And Ron, you know, I can't help when you look at it politically. It's almost hard not to see some of the parallels politically in our environment today that we saw back when he was in office as well. I mean, you know, inflation was one of the biggest issues in this past election, and we know during his time that was something that was a major struggle in this country. And I just want to use that as a jumping off point. Do you see many similarities?
Wait, what did Trump say? Oh my God. Oh my God. Hold on. Hold on. What's the Elton John song that was playing when Donald Trump responded to RB? Yeah. Okay, hold on. I got it. New Trump tweet just dropped. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah. You want to come read it? Okay. Hold on. We're not going to do this yet because I'm waiting for Alexander Lolo to come and read it. Okay. Your mic is on.
Hey, chat. Sorry, guys. I'm leaving tomorrow, okay? And I won't be here anymore. And then you guys won't see
Thank
me for a
God,
long
dude.
time.
Fucking thank God.
I know. I'm sorry.
You
guys.
greatly overstayed your welcome. Shit.
Sorry.
Jimmy Carter died. I don't know if you knew that.
I'm gonna take. Yeah. I heard the news. Very sad.
All right,
He was only 100. So young.
So young. Who could have thought? Anyway, here.
Is it? Are you doing it in the background?
Yeah.
Just heard the news about the passing of President Jimmy Carter. Those of us who have been fortunate enough to have served as president understand that this is a very exclusive club, and only we can relate to the enormous responsibility of leading the greatest nation in history. The challenges Jimmy faced as president came at a pivotal time for our country, and frankly, he did everything in his power to improve the lives of all Americans, not as much as me, but a lot. For that, we all owe him a debt of gratitude. Melania and I are thinking warmly of the Carter family and their loved ones during this difficult time. We urge everyone to keep them in their hearts and prayers.
That was pretty good.
Thank you.
This is the forever. I think whenever Trump tries to eulogize someone, I'm going to play that song.
Yeah.
It has to be played in the background.
This was pretty nice. This was a pretty nice message that he wrote.
It's kind of surprising that he didn't go, Carter was the worst American president.
A big time loser, as we know.
Yeah, major loser.
Couldn't cut it 2 times, no.
Yeah.
He tried to put solar panels on the White House.
But just like Sleepy Joe Biden, his defeat brought back one of the greatest, second greatest American presidents. Joe Biden's defeat brought me back, and Carter brought Ronald Reagan, who is not the greatest president, but the second after myself. That's how you know he didn't write it? Yeah, your cousin probably wrote this.
Danny? Yeah, probably. Did you guys, speaking of which, do you guys think I should go to the inauguration?
Can you, how tight are you?
Do you want to go?
How tight are you?
Me and Danny?
Yeah.
We're not tight at all, but his mom and my mom are tight.
You think you can get me into the inauguration?
If you want to go, as long as you don't cause problems, you could probably come.
Why would I cause problems? What problems could I cause?
Because you're Antifa. You're an Antifa terrorist.
No, I'm not. I'm literally misogynistic, and I revel in the death of homeless.
This is crazy. You're gonna go. This is the big heel turn, guys. He's gonna go to the inauguration.
Yeah.
He's gonna go on Rogan.
I'm gonna outflank Cenk. Like Shaky Gurga thinks he can do this fucking
Here, let me
pivot.
text my mom right now. She texted me this morning. Also,
Okay.
she liked the video that we sent for some reason, even though you called me autistic in it. She's like, "That's nice. I like Hasan." That's what she said.
Really?
Yeah.
What does your mom sound like female Donald Trump
Everybody
in this?
in my family sounds that
in this
way.
impersonation. Why are you doing her like that? That's messed up. More
Jimmy.
evidence of Hasan's rightward shift? Yeah.
Jimmy, what's Jimmy's last name? Jimmy Donaldson. Fantastic. One of our best presidents.
Mr. Beast.
Of the world didn't really exist.
All right, well,
you know, Harry
the Glaze
Truman,
session's
Dwight
on.
Eisenhower,
I'm gonna take
they
this
kinda
stuff
went
outta
home to the
here.
farm. Lyndon Johnson, you know, same.
I will bring
same
my own
story.
MAGA hat to the
and,
fucking inauguration
I think
if I'm allowed to
Carter
go.
Really
I think that's a little
created
too on the
idea
nose.
That a former president.
Wait, why?
I think you should wear a
would be
MAGA hat to the
engaged and a
inauguration. I
source
think that's
of
crazy.
positive change around the world, and
Why?
you know, he's sort of it's like a new model, you know.
That's
and
what he's gonna do. He's
there
gonna
are
make
very few
America great
people
again.
in our history who can say that about that. They just sort of created something that really reimagined. You know, there've been former presidents
I fuck
for,
with
you know,
Jimmy Carter.
at that point, you know, almost
Eh.
200 years. But
great.
none had
I
really
mean, he's
envisioned
probably
their
the only
role
good,
in
like,
the same
post-
way that he did.
Can you talk about that?
And I think he has
The only
created a
good
model that,
president,
to
like,
varying extent,
post-presidency,
other
in
presidents
terms of trying to do the right
I
thing.
think now see as part of, you know, kind of what you
Racist
are expected
shit.
to do when you leave office.
I mean, he
although
ran a
none,
tremendously
I think,
racist
to the full extent,
campaign
matches
to
the full
become,
extent of Carter's engagement with so many different
governor
causes
of,
for so long.
Right, he was governor of
And
Georgia.
this, of course, as we
right?
continue to see the images of
Peanut-
the American flag
peanut
at
farmer?
half-staff, and to speak to some of
Chad, is this right?
what you were talking about, you know, they founded the Carter Center in Atlanta in partnership with Emory University
Chad,
in
was he
1982,
peanut
and those
farmer?
initiatives included monitoring international elections, fighting diseases in developing
In Georgia?
countries, seeking international
Dude, look how
peace. And
good
one
I
of their
am.
key
Look at that.
accomplishments that
Where
they're
am I pulling that
credited
from?
with
I don't
is
even
the
remember
near
what I was eating
eradication
for
of guinea
breakfast
worm
yesterday.
disease for more than
Just
3
kidding.
million
I've been
cases
eating
in
a breakfast
1986 to
burrito every single day that I've been in Los
last year
Angeles.
in 2023, and he of course got the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest honor for an American civilian, in 1999. I mean, the impact, I mean, just
You
those
can't hear
numbers
me?
alone, reading out of a disease essentially being eradicated over just a few decades is pretty remarkable. But I guess what my mind goes to now is how does that work continue? I mean, obviously he's set such a standard, and even towards
Chad, I'm
the
gonna
end
call
of
my
his
mom right
life,
now.
while he maybe was not as mobile and as public as maybe he would have liked to be, understandably so. You know, he was around 100 years old leading up to it. But where is that source of light? Where is that momentum? How does that work continue at a level that Jimmy Carter?
I'm good. No, I'm staying one more day. Because I have to interview this big idiot. I'm putting you on speaker. You're on stream. There's how many people are watching? I'm putting you on speakerphone.
Don't want to be on speakerphone.
Okay, you're on speakerphone right now. There are 25,000 people watching. Okay, so don't say anything really problematic.
It's 26,000. Hello.
Ma, it's Hasan. Mom, Hasan wants to go to the inauguration.
That'd be great.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Why not?
No.
Is Kathy
No.
going?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Can Hasan go? He'll be really good.
She doesn't want
He doesn't want to go to the parties. He wants to just take it all in.
Yeah, I want
to take it all in.
Trump is our president now, and I want to celebrate it.
He wants to celebrate.
No, I don't trust you two. Absolutely.
That's
never happening.
no.
Never
We'll be good, Mary. We'll be good.
We will be so good.
Sir.
Mary, we will be
Wait,
respectful.
tell her I was gonna wear my hat.
He'll wear his MAGA hat.
Are you?
No.
Are you watching right now? I can put it on right
No,
now.
she's not watching. She doesn't know.
No, I don't know how to watch anything. I don't do that. I don't have social media.
She watches.
silly.
She watches her British TV.
Oh, you know, Jimmy Carter died.
We heard, yeah.
Yeah, we were just covering it.
It's like about time, right?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
What? I mean, God bless. Well, I wouldn't want to live that long. That's gross.
You're ready to die, Ma?
I'm ready to go. I'm
Okay.
packed and ready.
All right, good thing. All right, we'll
Yes,
talk about it
Rocky
later. We'll talk later about it, but I think you got to talk to
miss
Kathy.
you.
I miss you too.
No, I miss you. I
Listen,
miss
talk
you.
to
You need
Kathy.
come home.
I'll come home.
Yes. Goodbye.
Listen, talk to Kathy. Ma, talk to Kathy.
When are you coming home?
I'll come home if you talk to Kathy about getting us into the inauguration.
No.
Ma, come on.
You should have been nicer to me. My Christmas gift should have been nicer.
Oh,
shit.
no.
You don't air me out, Ma. There's a bunch of people. No,
wait,
no,
what
stop.
did- what did he get you?
You're disconnected. You're
What did
breaking
he get
up.
you? What did he get
Ma,
you?
Ma, I'll talk to you later. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Love you.
That's crazy. What did you better have gotten her something nice. She deserves nice things.
I got her a nice gift.
What did you get her?
I got her a bunch of skincare stuff.
That's not enough. That's not enough.
It's not. It's nice.
That's like supplementary gifts.
What am I gonna buy her?
Give her the choker.
She doesn't like. She's not gonna wear that.
Why not?
That's not for my mom.
It's Marc Jacobs.
A choker necklace for my mom.
I don't know. It's hip. You could be like, this is what all
Weird.
the lovely young ladies are wearing.
No, she doesn't like that. She likes scarves. Maybe I'll buy her a new scarf.
Okay. You better.
She's just talking shit. She wants me to buy her a car.
Yeah, you better.
I'm not you. I can't buy people cars. I make
Okay.
$87,000 a year.
That's half
That's
of that.
not enough
half
to
of
buy
that could
a
go
car.
to a car.
No, Hasan, that's not enough.
You're gonna
How
get,
you a public interest
you're
lawyer?
You're gonna get fired again for
Saying exactly how much I make.
Revealing your salary.
No,
That's
we're a
crazy.
union shop. I know. I should make double, guys.
That's insane.
Guys, shouldn't I make double?
God damn, dude. Honestly,
I made more. This is what's really crazy. I made more money when I was 23 years old, and because I worked in tech.
Yeah, that is. Ugh,
It was
God.
10 years ago, guys.
Society's on the verge of collapse, dude. What the fuck?
It's sick.
It's so basic to just be like, teachers should be making the price that like the salaries that like these tech people are making. But like honestly, what the fuck are we doing? We're venerating, we're hyping up the worst sectors.
I genuinely feel that the majority of professions at this point, you should just make double. Like whatever you're making. You're a fucking teacher, you're an immigration attorney, you're a firefighter, whatever. Double.
Someone said 87,000 a year is good.
It's
a fucking like
it's not. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad.
No, you can say it's bad. For you're a lawyer who was you've done trials for many years.
I have a lot of experience.
You are an incredibly experienced lawyer in New York City.
And it's New York City. That's
the
thing.
only
My rent
reason
is
why.
expensive.
The only reason why it's so low is because you're a public interest lawyer. That's the reason, which is so fucked up.
And also, I want to be clear. You're right. It's not a bad living, but the fact is what people make in New York City is so low. I think the median income in New York City is it $74,000?
You're a Columbia
a year or
law
something like
graduate. That is
Yeah.
fucking stupid. Like that, chat, please readjust, like reorient to like his personal conditions. You're literally like, when you say $87,000 is a good salary, yeah, if you're entry level in fucking Birmingham, okay? Like that's what the average person should be getting paid in Birmingham.
It's not enough to buy my mom a car. Okay.
Like that's with the current with the current ways with the current like salaries and cost of living, that's what it should be. I was making 85K in a local area, low cost area with no degree in tech.
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, New York is very expensive.
It's sickening, I think.
might leave, like that's what I was talking about. I might leave New York because it's so expensive. Anyway. Unless somebody I know, if only there was someone I know who could buy an apartment building and let me live there.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. That's insane.
Guys, you guys know anybody who could
That's insane.
buy me an apartment? Okay.
Someone said that's almost what I make as a public defender in Kansas. You're getting flanked by other public defenders in fucking Kansas,
I know, it's
dude.
bad, dude.
That is so bad.
The public in California, public servants get paid very well. Like the muni drivers in San Francisco.
Why don't you
get paid
fucking serve the public here then?
Maybe I will.
Yeah.
Take the bar.
Isn't it if you pass the bar in like
No.
certain states, it's like Well, California might be different.
California has zero reciprocity with any other state because they're a bunch of assholes.
Well, they probably have, you know, a pretty populous state.
I think it's a dick move. I mean, you already have to go to law school for 3 years, and then you have to take a fucking bar exam.
Yeah, I don't really know. But isn't the bar like most of it is just like learning each individual, like the minutia of the.
It's just annoying. That's all it is.
I guess it kind of makes sense. You can learn on the job.
I mean, I agree with that 100%. Anyway, it's chill.
I know a guy who could build you an apartment, but he just passed. True. You're
Damn,
cooked.
R.I.P. gang.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter was gonna fix the housing crisis. That's why they killed him. And because is Mossad killed him because he was pro-Palestine.
Oh yeah. He had another
they just found out. They just found out about his takes that he wrote in books for like 800 years at this point.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll move to California and I'll take the bar here.
You should do it.
I could be L.A. lawyer.
I'm an auditor for the state and I make $20K more than this dude with a lot less education. Totally feel for him. In California, you don't have to repeat the MBE if you've been barred for 6 years out of state. Only 1 day essays.
Okay, cool. Well, that's not for another year and change.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for the info. Anyway.
Wait, but how did he die? Probably wasn't natural, right? Yeah, dude, he was in hospice care for an entire year. It definitely wasn't natural. No one who was in hospice care for an entire year at the age of 100 dies like that.
He was just a fucking kid.
Yeah, one could say he died suddenly.
He died under mysterious circumstances.
Yeah, nobody knows how he died.
More than New York is the snobbiest city in America.
What the fuck?
And Carter and the Georgians were treated like dirt, condescendingly and with hostility. If he had a fault, it was
American like cultural battles are so silly to me. Like,
was accused of presidential micromanaging, of excessive attention to detail.
My whole thing is, why do people from the Midwest
Jimmy Carter mastered a subject
think that
and then led sometimes
people on the
very
coast have
effectively.
smoke for them? When it's like, I don't think about, no offense, and I don't even mean the flyover thing. It's just like, I'm not.
Oh, like the
anytime
West
I meet
Coast East
people
Coast
from the
rivalry or
Midwest,
whatever.
There's like a chip on their shoulder. Like, it's chill.
No, it's because they're very overlooked parts of the country, and their material conditions have worsened over over the past couple of decades, partially because of neoliberalism that was originally initiated by the Carter administration and then supercharged by Ronald Reagan. But I think that's where the anger and resentment comes from. That people are just feeling like they've been left behind, and they have been left behind. And some of the only areas where there is any sort of like dormant industry remaining is like tech or I don't know, finance in New York and tech in California. So for that reason, I think that like a lot of people have these this kind of like anger and resentment. That's it. I think
let's start a co-op.
What? What are you talking about?
Chat, you want to start a co-op?
Question.
Are you better off
for what
than you were 4 years ago?
Just hanging out.
Jimmy Carter lost the election, but not his resolve to make a difference. He and Rosalind founded the Carter Center in part to promote peace, democracy, human rights, as well as economic and social development.
Connor is, I think, one of the funniest, if not the funniest Twitch streamer out there. This week's Fortnite Friday has been indefinitely delayed. Yeah. I think...
Shout out Angelica Reed.
My sources tell me he was crippled with anxiety over his upcoming... over a coveted upcoming media appearance. My sources tell me he was crippled with anxiety over a coveted upcoming media appearance that he was training for. You type like my grandma? Your grandma can type this fast? That's insane. Like, yeah, I type slow, man. I'm fucking 33 years old. Suck my dick. But like, if your grandma could type at the speed of a 33-year-old when her entire life she's never touched a goddamn typewriter or a computer, then congratulations to your fucking grandma. Is she a goddamn stenographer? Even though they use a different keyboard entirely? Index finger typing. I think my speed is not great, but it's not terrible either.
You have a lot of smoke for this person's grandma.
Yeah, I get annoyed when people make fun. Oh, these fucking Zoomers that, like, you know, don't understand what it's like when you had your own personal computer like late in the game. Okay, I wasn't born with a fucking iPad in my fingers, bitch. You youngins will never understand. Yeah, I can fucking read way faster than you and write better than you. So at least I have that over you. I don't need fucking autocorrect. How about that? The way Hasan talks about being in his 30s sends me, Lamau. It's because this environment is filled to the brim with fucking disgusting Zoomers. Zoomers who are ontologically evil as an entire generation. Anyway.
They're fine.
Yeah. Do you know how to fucking write or read cursive? I can. There you go. Boom.
Do you fight with them a lot?
What? My audience?
The
No,
children?
I would never. I would never fight with the children in my audience. Just kidding. I fight with them all the time. And then people will be like, Hasan is so audience captured. And then they'll turn around and go, he yells at his audience all the time. No, we're not going to watch the Papua New Guinea doc. Before we move on, my critique of Carter as a religious studies student specializing in Christian liberation theology is that a Christian leader has the responsibility to effect positive systemic change, not just lead a holy life. I mean, fair. Yeah, I can also read, period. I need Lolo in a biblical way, this person said. Where'd it go?
What does that mean?
I don't know. They want to do like Bible stuff to you.
Is that anal?
Maybe. You, me, code forces. Let's see who can reverse a binary tree. I don't know what any of those words mean, Magic Man. Okay, calm down. Isn't that what that fucking Twitter geek said?
Who?
The one who is like the racist Algerian coder.
No, he's not racist anymore. He said that he was not doing that anymore.
Oh yeah.
He said he was going back to the grind, which I can respect.
Anyway, Lamau, look at this Weekend at Jimmy shit. Oh, this was, I know what this is. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. How could
That's
he
so
have,
sad.
How could he have died? I mean, this is,
That's not nice.
I mean, come on. It's not nice to fucking wheel him out like this. It's not nice to snap a picture of him being wheeled out like this.
We're looking
When
at
when you're incapable of closing your mouth, it's like it's God telling you your time is up. You know what I mean? Like when gravity takes hold of your jaw muscles, it's over.
Maybe he's yawning.
They wheeled him out mid-death rattle a few months ago. Shit's wild. Yeah. Why is the kid dying too? Yeah, I don't know what happened here.
Slay King.
Carter has passed, an accomplished man, a brilliant legacy. Although for many of us, he died years ago when he refused to condemn Gamergate. That's a banger.
I kind of forgot. I always kind of forgot that he was still alive until the people showed pictures of him like this.
It was really gross because the media would literally fucking cover him. Because like they'd be like, Carter thinks Kamala will be a fantastic president. It's like, no, Carter doesn't think anything. Okay, he has no thoughts.
Doing elder abuse.
Yeah, he looks like an Elden Ring boss, dude. What do you mean? Yeah, to witness a military flyover with 4 fighter jets. It's like, no, he didn't witness anything. Okay. They would be like, Jimmy Carter voted for Kamala Harris, and then the photo they would use was this, like that photo on the right where his mouth is open, mouth is agape.
He's mewing.
Yeah, he should have been. He should have been mewing.
I don't want to live to be 100, to be honest.
Bro looks like an Elden Ring stage dressing. Yeah.
I love Dairy Girls.
I never watched it.
Oh, it's
who
really
became
funny.
president of the United States, and after leaving office, did all these remarkable things as a former president of the.
Oh my God, Glaze, dude. We get it. We get it. He fucking built houses, okay? Mr. Peanut Man. Oh.
He did really racist shit when he ran for governor. You know all that stuff, right?
Let's take a look.
He sent out the mailers.
I mean, he's running for governor in Georgia.
He sent out these mailers to make them think that he was like really racist. Like he wanted to trick the voters into thinking that he was very racist. Can you Google this?
Jimmy Carter for governor, vintage envelope. Is this it?
No. You know what I'm talking about, chat? I think I'm right about this.
Damn, you're just doing a fake
I
cancellation.
know,
You're
it's
doing
real.
a
It's
fake
real.
cancellation.
No,
dude.
go look up Google Jimmy Carter mailer racist. The dark side. Oh, it's on Reddit. Just on fucking Reddit. Don't read that.
Look at Jimmy Carter from 1971. A governor speaks out on race. He looked old when he was 45, bro. I don't know what's happening there. Well, this is on Reddit.
No, don't read the fucking Reddit.
Why?
That's not useful.
You never know. Just kidding. What am I doing? Even as
Why
a
are you
joke.
reading Reddit?
Disgusting. Even as a joke. Oh, yeah. Worst fact of the fucking day. The two oldest living presidents are now the incumbent president and the president-elect. Wait, is that true? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Trump is the... Oh, my God. I mean, I know Joe Biden is the oldest living president. Damn. Donald Trump is older than fucking GW. Washington Examiner. Yes. Dude, it's so funny that Washington Examiner wrote this because it's like, what? Was he not racist enough for you guys? Like, what's happening? This is like when a person...
Here, the leaflet. Yeah, this is what I was talking about.
Okay, setting aside the much greater disrespect shown by the left at nearly every moment of former President George W. Bush's presidency, readers should refer to Stephen Hayward as the real Jimmy Carter if they want a taste of the out-and-out racism that Carter employed in order to defeat moderate former Governor Carl Sanders for the Democratic nomination that year. As Hayward's book points out, oh, he used the term ethnic purity? Oh, that's fucking crazy.
Wait, go back to the mailer there.
Anyway, Carter's top campaign staffers were spotted distributing grainy photographs of Sanders arm in arm celebrating with two black men. Sanders was a part owner of the Atlanta Hawks, and in the photograph, he was celebrating victory with two players that were pouring champagne over his head. Carter's leaflet was intended to depress Sanders' white vote. The Carter campaign also produced... By the way, things have not changed. Hillary Clinton did this against Barack Obama.
Sure.
Like... Are we forgetting that? That like
No.
Hillary Clinton, like the Clinton camp is responsible for the distribution of photos where he's like wearing a turban and shit.
It's just so funny that this is a strategy in Georgia.
Yeah. It was a. I'm saying it was
produced a leaflet noting that
it was
he
a
had paid
strategy for
tribute to
Hillary
Martin
Clinton
Luther
in the
King Jr.
primaries.
Sure, yeah.
Like that's why it's so crazy. Carter campaign also produced a leaflet noting that Sanders had paid tribute to Martin Luther King Jr.
So fucking crazy.
Carter criticized Sanders, a former governor, for preventing Alabama governor and notorious segregationist George Wallace from speaking on Georgia state property. I don't think it was right for Governor Sanders to try and please a group of ultra liberals, particularly those in Washington. Brother. I have no trouble pitching for Wallace votes and black votes at the same time, Carter told a reporter. Carter also said to another reporter, I can win this election without a single black vote. Upon receiving the endorsement from a former governor, Democratic Governor Lester Maddox, Carter responded by praising the lifelong segregationist. He has brought a standard. Okay.
I mean, that's the classic Democratic move. That's
like
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden eulogized Strom Thurmond, dude. Like,
yeah.
And also co-authored and co-sponsored numerous bills. God, everything.
Guys, I'm starting to think
American
that this
politics
country is
so
a little
ass.
bit racist.
Yeah, American
This is
politics is so
crazy.
fucking ass. And it's always so funny because like diehard liberals, like diehard pro-dem people will just like straight up talk to you like you're a psychopath for bringing this up. Like, make no mistake, the Washington Examiner is infinitely more racist than any number of, like, Washington Examiner writes articles similar to this in a regular basis, okay? But it's like kind of wild to remind people. It's kind of wild to remember that like this isn't, 1970s shit, okay? This is like still very much white supremacy is still very much at play in numerous instances in contemporary American politics. It is something that people utilize still. Check logs important. Dude, CNN released an article on your Hollywood drama takes, Lamau. It's on CNN Entertainment. They added a clip from your stream.
Oh, no.
What the fuck? This is what takes me down.
Guys, you should... Wait, when does that Fear End episode come out?
Monday.
Guys, can you guys listen to that? Because I feel like it's going to be the worst performing episode that they make, but actually we had a really fun time. And Hasan talked about
it's not showing up.
The way that he was with boys in college. He talked about that.
There isn't anything else. There isn't like, it's not showing up yet. Wokeism taking down yet another Twitch streamer.
Wait, what happened? It's gone?
I don't know. Oh, they lied? I debated you. Also, Flex Against Rise. I love you, Haas. The Americana proud of what you've done.
Ban.
All right, take a day off, bitch. Are we still doing ban appeals today? Yeah. Well, not that guy. That guy's gone. Fox will end up defending us on. No, you don't understand. That'll never happen. Okay. Because every party responsible, both on the woke side and the Republican right side, know that I am not a fucking misogynist. They're just, they will both in the same exact way cynically claim that I am to fucking complain. That's how this goes. Okay. That's it. It's the same principle behind the Fox News articles calling me a fucking anti-Semite.
Those are true.
God damn it. The reality of the matter is, if I was openly a genuinely misogynistic person, I would probably be loved by at least one side of the political spectrum.
True. There's always money in that.
Yeah. That's why it's so stupid when people are like, excuse me, Hasan, thinks Hasan is transphobic. It's like, are you stupid? Do you know how much fucking money I would make if I was like a transphobic person routinely cutting transphobic fucking videos? Like, why the fuck would I hide it? Why would I try to like go in this roundabout way of like doing some secret transphobia and misogyny? Like, I'd just be actively out there.
Wait, do you want to know something kind of crazy?
What?
I went to this morning. Maybe chat will like this. I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting. I was at this bookstore in LA.
Dude, what? You're constantly in bookstore. Oh my god! Wait, hold on. They're showing Jimmy fucking kissing, dude.
Yeah, he's fucking hot.
That's crazy. Go on.
This place, it's all first editions that they have, and it's like these two British guys. It's really cool. So like every book they have there is a first edition, and they have these amazing books. They're way too expensive, but I just like to look at them and imagine what it would be like to own them. But they have this copy of Oscar Wilde.
They're showing the kissing photo again. Sorry.
De Profundis. Do you know what that book is? Go look it up. This is really crazy. So they have a copy of this book, right? And if you don't know what this book is, it's like
How do you?
DE.